Welcome to another episode of Pit Lane Parlay.
Joined for this part of the episode by Joe Graf Jr. Joe, thanks for joining, being our very first NASCAR guest. And how's things going?
Good. Thanks for having me. Super stoked to be on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So why don't we start this way? And I'm going to switch it up from how I normally do these. For those who aren't familiar with Joe, has come through ARCA, raced last year in Xfinity. But if you were to tell somebody who is Joe Graf Jr., what would you say?
I
know I'm putting you on the spot right off the bat.
Yeah, I am the NASCAR sneakerhead.
All right, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was reading that on your website last night when I was drumming up my questions. And so I don't know how up to date your website is, but as of whenever this was written, you had 84 pairs of sneakers.
Yep. Yeah, I've added, so that is fairly recent, but in the last couple of weeks, I've added probably another 8 to 12.
Holy hell. Okay. So I have so many questions, because on the other end of the spectrum, I've had the same pair of shoes for many years, and my wife is mad because there's like plastic falling out of the bottom, and they're falling apart. And I asked for nice sneaks for Christmas, which is very unlike me. So what does one do with, let's say, 96 pairs of sneakers? Like, do you wear most of them, or are some like purely like a collection?
It definitely depends. So I have, I would say probably about a third of mine have never been worn.
Okay.
Some of them worn a couple times, but a lot of them are just collectible. I have like a whole room at my house full of sneakers. They're all like kind of on display there. I also, I'm a reseller, so I'll buy some of these and sell them later on for a profit.
Yep.
So I make a little bit of money, kind of like a side gig doing that. So a little bit of everything. Some of them I wear a lot. Some of them only a couple times, and a few of them I'll probably never wear.
So how much does a shoe cost that you would never wear? What is it the top of the trophy, the shoe trophy case?
So I feel like it definitely depends. I don't know that it's a value thing as much as just it's what in some cases I can profit off of them. I have I don't know if you know what they are, but the brand Off-White did a collaboration with Nike on a bunch of sneakers now, and I have a lot of those. And I have the black Air Force Ones from that I got for probably about $700, and now they're going for $1,300. So I'm not going to wear those. I'm ultimately going to sell them and make a profit. But then there's a pair of sneakers that I got about a year and a half ago. So they're the ones that Kanye West did with Nike before he left there, the Nike Air Yeezy 2. And that had been my dream sneaker since I was, basically since I got into it back in the end of middle school, beginning of high school. Obviously, I didn't really have very many sneakers back then. But I picked those up probably about a year and a half ago now. So those are one of the most rare ones I have, but I wear those a fair amount.
Yeah, I'm looking at what the media says they are worth, and it is almost the same cost as my car.
So I actually put up something on Twitter about what the media says those were worth. If anybody is willing to pay what the media claims these are worth, I'll happily sell them to you. So,
all right, everybody listening.
If anybody out there is looking for a pair,
it's I that's insane. I mean, I know the shoes because I'm pretty sure I saw it on TV or something like that. But that's crazy. And if anybody wants to spend $23,000 or more on shoes, and you've got some leftover money, I know a podcast that also could use some money. So maybe we can win-win from this.
If anybody's interested, I will happily take half of that. They're awesome and I love them, but I think once you get into a certain category of rareness in some of these sneakers, it's kind of just people say they're worth whatever they want because they're super hard to find. Like I kind of view it as they're only worth what somebody's willing to pay.
Right.
So I don't really know how much that is, but I certainly haven't gotten any offers that high.
Well, I am going to have to do some eBay research later because now I'm curious. I know I would be divorced in about 4 seconds if I spent that much money, if half that much money on sneakers. But anyway, we'll get into some racing. We'll kind of bounce back and forth here. You finished your first full season of Xfinity this past year in 2020. How difficult was it to make your full season Xfinity debut in the middle of a pandemic?
It was definitely difficult. Like I think as a group, it made the whole team kind of have to adapt, and like the whole sport in general, just to learn differently and prepare differently for these races with no practice, no qualifying, just going right out and into the race. It made it very difficult to try new things in some cases, just because if you wanted to try something super different from the last time you were at a track, typically you'd have practice to figure out, okay, like this worked, so let's keep rolling with it, or it didn't, you can change it back. With no practice, you can't do that. So it definitely created some challenges there. And then as a new driver, not seeing most of the tracks I've been on this year, just understanding what I'm looking for in the car at a specific track and understanding the track, it was definitely a learning curve for me. Like I felt probably about a third of the races this year, the track didn't really come to me till about the middle to the end of stage 2.
Wow. Yeah, I know the no practice thing must have been insanely tough. So, all 33 races, was there a handful of tracks that maybe you hadn't raced on previously that you're kind of looking in your head going, okay, 2021, I am going to do something differently, and I feel confident that will translate to a good result?
Yeah, so the big thing that I was really pleased with this year is even the tracks that we went back to the second time, we had really good runs at. Like I remember I was very disappointed in how we ran at the first Kansas. Just felt like we should have done better than we did, and we came back to Kansas the second time and we're really fast. The car was really good. I was a lot better. It all just kind of came together. Unfortunately, we broke a rear end there. But like there were a few instances of that. We were good at Texas both times, but we were really good there our second time. And like it just kind of seemed to be a theme throughout the year. Like when we go back to a track our second time, we'd be better. So I'm really hoping that was something we can build on moving into next year, where we can be a little bit better everywhere than we were this year and really excel at those tracks we're going back to for the third and the fourth time.
Makes sense. A couple other questions on racetracks themselves. So you've got Circuit of the Americas, which obviously is new to everybody next year. The Daytona Roval and Charlotte Roval, which are still relatively new. And then the Indianapolis Road Course, which you guys ran last year. Out of those kind of newer road courses, is there one that you enjoyed the most that you did last year? And what are your thoughts on the expansion into Circuit of the Americas next year?
So I actually had a lot of fun racing in the rain at Charlotte. I know
awesome.
A lot of people didn't like it, but I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. And like, I have very little road course experience. I don't come from a road course background. So my first time ever on a road course in anything but a rental go-kart was actually at Indy earlier this year.
Wow.
So the road courses to me were a huge learning curve to begin with. So ironically, I felt that the new road courses they're adding actually probably helped me because I have no experience at any of them really. So if everybody's learning, like at Circuit of the Americas, if most of the field is learning, they're doing the same thing I am versus going to Road America where some people in the field have been to 5 or 6 times now.
I like it. So one thing you mentioned is you didn't have a ton of road course experience before this past year. And I was just kind of looking at your background, growing up doing the Legend Series cars and the late model cars. For those who maybe aren't as familiar with the kind of, let's call it road to NASCAR at that point, you have the smaller Bandolero cars and whatnot. What's it like running those different types of cars and compared to, a bigger stock car?
They definitely have their differences. I feel I took a unique path to most. I stayed in legend cars for a long time. I went and raced modified in Connecticut for a year, and then was only in late models for a really brief period of time. Had a little bit of success there, but really the breakthrough for me was going into ARCA. We had a really good year in 2018 in ARCA. Followed it up with a decent year in 2019, and just moved right on to full-time Xfinity after that. But I've always had the philosophy that anytime you can spend in a race car, you're learning and it's helpful. So every car has its differences, but I feel what helps with the learning curve is your adaptability. So the more different things you can race and you kind of learn how to learn in a race car, the better you're going to be.
I get that. And I agree. Real quick, before we go back to racing, have to get in the standard question that I ask everybody on here. And I'm trying to pull up the list. I can't find it. So we have a Pit Lane Parlay drivers Spotify playlist. So any guest that comes on that's a driver gets to add a song to the playlist. And as I pull up said playlist, I will allow you to see if there's something you want to add to it.
Well, I definitely have something I'm going to want to add to it, and it's going to be Song About James by the band Avoid.
All right, I got it. Add playlist. All right. As always, I will tweet out the Spotify link when the episode goes live so that everybody listening can keep track. One of our listeners actually wrote down all of the, what song goes to what driver, because I never did that. And I can remember some because the songs were very strange, but I will I'll have to check that one out after.
Yeah, it's awesome. They're great guys. Their music's awesome. I had the pleasure of having them out to a race this year at Talladega, so that was a blast. Those guys are awesome. So really looking forward to having them out to a few more this year.
I love it. So in addition to racing, you're also finishing your degree in media and sports management, and that led to your internship in the communications department at one of the race teams, and my notes have disappeared from my computer. So I am going to let you talk a little bit more about that. And how does that does that help you at all kind of learn different parts about the racing world at the same time, meet some new connections that will help you on the track?
Yeah, so it helped tremendously. My schoolwork at NYU actually gave me the opportunity to have an internship at Richard Childress Racing in 2019, the front half of that year. So I learned a ton over there. Those guys are great people, and they really are like a family over there. And it gave me an opportunity to run a few races for them in 2019, which is something that I am incredibly grateful for and had a lot of fun doing. And I learned a ton about myself and about what I need to be doing to excel in a race car. So that helped me a ton. Had some good runs over there, and I still have a relationship with those guys today.
I love it. You are also the brand ambassador for the Eat Sleep Race campaign. So curious as to kind of what that is. I know they're one of your partners on your website, but just curious as to what Eat Sleep Race is for especially for everybody who's listening and wants to check it out.
So they're a racing lifestyle brand. They have apparel. They have all kinds of shirts, sweatshirts, you name it. They've got it just based around racing and in the racing community. I've been a partner with them for just over 2 years now, and those guys are awesome, and they truly do eat, sleep, and race. I've never. That was the first 2 years ago. Now that was probably the first company I'd worked with that like it truly fit my lifestyle to a T.
Right.
And I hit it off with those guys really well, and they have some awesome apparel. Anybody that's a race fan really needs to go check them out. They've got something for everybody.
Yeah, I just pulled up the website finally. You think I would do that beforehand, but for those wondering, I had nothing but technical issues all day today, so it's been a long day. Let's see here. Wrap it up with a couple more questions. Do you have a 2021 team or plans to kind of continue in the same capacity as 2020? I wasn't able to find that, and I don't know if you can necessarily talk about it yet, but can't hurt to ask.
So we are working towards running another year full-time in the Xfinity Series. We should have an announcement coming out soon. Bucked Up Energy is coming back. Eat Sleep Race is coming back, as well as Bass Reaper, Watchanista, and we're also bringing on Wax Insurance in a bigger capacity this year. So I'm really excited about it, and definitely have some cool announcements coming up.
And I know you're from the Northeast because one of your partners is ShopRite, and I'm pretty sure nobody outside of the Northeast area or East Coast area knows what ShopRite is. So I appreciate that.
Oh, for sure. I actually have a pretty cool story about them too. I actually used to work at ShopRite back in high school. So I used to I think it was my the summer between my sophomore and junior year, and then my junior year and senior year, both summers I actually worked at ShopRite. So I have a pretty good relationship with them on like the local level, and then again on a bigger level as well. So it's been pretty cool.
That's awesome. So let's see here. We'll wrap it up with two questions. One driver that you would love to sit down and talk with and get racing advice with would be who? And it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who's still living. It could be somebody from a long time ago, but who would you love to get some racing advice from?
That's always a difficult question because there's never just one answer, right?
We can open it up to multiple.
Yeah, like I've always felt that there's always something to learn from everybody. Is the one big thing to me, and the other is like there's no one driver I feel that embodies everything that you want to strive to be. Like you want individual qualities from different people, and just to like get insight from a variety of drivers to help build your own craft. So to answer your question, like I don't really have an answer. There's too many to really name off the top of my head, but anybody that I can talk to and kind of glean some insight from and what they've done to be successful, and as well as what they've done that they wish they could do differently looking back, because I always feel that where people feel they made a mistake, you can learn just as much from that as you can from where they felt they did it right.
I like it. So we'll wrap it up with one slightly non-racing question here. On your website, your quote for the worst thing your dad has ever said to you is "Stop wasting your money on sneakers." My wife says similar things to me about all the baseball cards and football cards, whatnot I have around my office here. So let's go with if you are going to tell our listeners to invest in a sneaker, what is the current one you would say, hey, buy this, wait on a little bit, and you could probably make a good profit on it?
Ooh, so That's a good question. First, I'm going to answer my dad on that quote real quick. So the one thing I will say about my sneaker hobby is it is definitely addictive. And
I get it.
Like, the other thing is, like, I made a rule when I first got into it really heavily a couple of years ago. And my rule of thumb was I couldn't spend any more money on sneakers than I was making selling sneakers. So, like, the hobby completely supports itself. So, like, every pair of sneakers I've purchased is from profits made from selling other sneakers. If I didn't do that, I would have been broke a lot of times by now. But if there's one pair I would say that is going to rise in the next couple months, I've always had really good luck with Jordan 1s. So, like, the mochas that just dropped, the brown, black, and white ones, I believe those will steadily rise over the next year or so. I have a pair of those that I'm sitting on. I haven't worn those yet. Like, just to go through some of the ones I'm actually looking at them now. My off-white UNCs I bought probably a year and a half ago now. I bought those for about $1,000. They're up to $2,200.
Wow.
I bought a pair of Jordan 1 Breads. That's actually one of my favorite sneakers. I have 3 pair of them. One I wear, and 2 of them I bought as an investment. I got those about a year and a half ago as well. I bought each of them for about $390. They're each up to about $750 to $800 now. So, like, Jordan 1s, I haven't got a pair of the retro Jordan 1s that have dropped that I haven't done well on. So if anybody's looking to get into it and invest, usually a safe bet are definitely the Jordan 1s.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. I'm definitely going to check those out when I get some free time. Man, listen, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. I appreciate all the time this afternoon. Best of luck in 2021. Hopefully,
Thank you.
Can get back out at more racetracks next year and enjoy the off season and look forward to talking again soon.
For sure. And the one other thing I wanted to bring up just before I let you go is, if anybody that is looking to get into sneaker collecting and buying and reselling, a new app I've partnered with is actually Wax Insurance, and they insure watches, handbags, sneakers, and basically anything that's collectible. It's super easy. You just take a picture of your item, you list the value, they'll quote you on what it's insured for. I have my entire sneaker collection on there, and it's super easy. When you sell something, you can take the insurance policy off of it. You can put stuff on stuff really easy. Anybody that's looking to get into it, it's just a really good peace of mind to know if something happens, you're insured.
I like that. I'll put the link and the name of the app again in the podcast show notes and on the social media when we release the episode as well. I think I might have to look into that one myself.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good rest of your afternoon and stay safe.
Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member, and you can too. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co.